Yeah.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this is a welcome to a new NSL live talk session. And I welcome this time on the screen from Sweden, live on June 13th. Is it 13th? Oh, okay.
I don't know. I don't even know what day it is anymore.
Something like that. Joey Jones, top left. Laura Hampton, bottom left. And Anna Hicks, bottom right. Thank you very much for taking the time. We are 5 hours apart from each other, time-wise. And Joey, you are not in the United Kingdom at this point. I thought you would be, but now you're in somewhere else.
Yes, the apartment that I have, the room has got turned into a home office by my roommates, and they needed it more than I did. I planned on going into the van and just chilling out, but things got a bit weird and really crazy in England. So I've got family here in Sweden, and we're just hiding out with the family up in the mountains, doing a lot of hiking and walking, and try to get back to England to our van. But I don't know if there's any reason to go back right now. It seems like this season's over. So I was kind of just rethinking where I want to go and what I want to do. And I've spoken with my roommates, but they're definitely going to have a home office until late in the summer, possibly the rest of the year, because they don't know how they're going to phase back in going back to work. Is it going to be part-time? So they're not even sure. They're like, this home office might be a forever thing. I don't know. They're not, nobody knows anymore. Like nobody knows anything, right? We're all guessing, and the story's changing for all of us. So I've decided not to make plans. I'm enjoying the time with family and doing some fishing and hiking and trying to just not think about things too much.
And Laura, you are drinking your glass of wine where?
I'm having a glass of gin and tonic in Bingham, just about 5 minutes down the road from Langer in the UK.
Okay, so you are at home.
Yes.
So close to a drop zone.
So close, right, and yet so far.
And Anna, you too at home in England?
Yeah, so I'm my current home, which is I live on camp in the barracks at place in Hampshire, where they train helicopter pilots basically, and so I'm sort of halfway, about 20 minutes from my home drop zone, which is Netheravon, and then 20 minutes from I fly Basingstoke as well. So actually, so good for telling I'm drop zone when it starts, but I'm just not sure when it will start for local. So it's so I'm south of England basically.
Let's update each other. I know that last time Laura we chatted on April 12th with the whole team, Chimera. And then it was followed only like 2 weeks later, we had NFTO with the whole team together end of April, and then Joey and Gary also end of April. So it was all pretty close by coincidence. Now here we are together with all, teams or part of the teams. And what's going on in the UK? By then it was right in the middle or shortly after all the cancellations. The virus was in full swing. And World Meet was cancelled, World Cup was cancelled, World Challenge was cancelled. So let's go in the same order. So I'm going to start on the top again. Joe, no, let's start in England first, because Laura and Anna, you know what's going on in England maybe better than Joey is, because he is hunting out there in Sweden. So Laura, what is going on in the United Kingdom right now? Is there any sign of restarting? What about events? What about qualification and all those topics that we don't know anything about?
Yeah, sure. So Skylive Langer have put out their kind of plan for getting things back to normal again. So there's a 6-stage plan that they've started putting in place already. I actually live with Chris Cook, who's a member of staff at Langer. So he's been over at the drop zone this week getting some training. So they've been learning all about the new processes that they're going to have to go through to keep everybody safe, socially distanced, sanitized, all that kind of thing. So they're kind of getting things back into motion, making sure they're ready to get going as soon as possible. I don't really know too much about the other drop zones and what they're doing, but yeah, I think at the moment the rough plan is to ideally get things going around the beginning of July. The other big news from the UK, of course, is that the British Nationals has now been cancelled. So what that means for teams is that basically it's not going ahead. So everything that was going to happen this year has essentially been shifted back a year. So all of the teams who had qualified for the World Championship this year, it's the same teams that will be going when it's put back next year. So it's worked out well in that sense, but it is sad that there's going to be no nationals this year.
And is Netherhaven also getting ready for reopening, or?
Yeah, so I've actually been part of the British Skydiving Return Skydiving Working Group. So they've got a whole working group looking at this of how to do the safe return skydiving, and I've been invited on that as a doctor. They've actually, because we normally British Skydiving Association has one doctor, Dr. John Carter, who's great, and then they asked if myself and another doctor, Simon Guest, another jumper, could join in. So we're sort of helping as sort of scientific advisors, medical advisors, just to help with the return to it. So it's been quite sort of busy with that over the last couple of weeks, so helping with the advice of that. So it's all going to be, yeah, there's like several working with Hibbles there as well, as part of the Swallow Group DZs. They're very involved with that as well, and then you've got Mark Browder from Netherhaven involved with that as well. So there's a lot of chief instructors again with Langer as well involved there as well, and so it's a lot of chief instructors trying to get some scientist advice and medical advice, trying to work out the safest and most legal way to return to skydiving. So they're proactively trying to, and I'm hopeful we're not that far off. It's just the financial feasibility, because at the moment the UK is still a 2-meter rule, and when you're loading an aircraft at 2 meters, that's not terribly financially great for operators. When I suspect at some point, and it looks from the media, there's a lot of suggestions that the government might reduce to 1 meter. That's when the stage when you're going to get a bit more financially viable for drop zone operators. So it's, I mean, the numbers are going in the right direction. It's going to happen at some point. It's just, yeah, it's got to make sure that the sport is complying with the government regulations, and it's all going in the right direction, basically. It's
how many people are we going to How many people are we going to get in a caravan with 2 meters to social distancing?
I think they've worked it out. If you're 2 meters, I think you get about 3, unless you're in the same family group. So Laura and Chris could jump together, yeah, and they like close. But then if you're different family groups, so you basically need to shack up with your team and be done with it.
Oh man!
I was just wanting to ask, that it sounds like there are general guidelines in the works for skydiving in general, but not necessarily for teams. So the team situation, is special, because we have at least 5 in a 4-way team and at least 9 for an 8-way team in the same plane.
I think it's freestyle. I know the French are going back to training soon, and the freestyle are okay because they don't touch each other. But if you're doing a linked exit, you're a bit more stuffed. So
yeah, that with the Wemby rules in the tunnel, they're not allowed to do any formation flying in the tunnel. Only 2 people, 2 ways is the most you can do that they'll allow in the tunnel for at least the first up until the middle of July or something. I just spoke with Julian because I've got some work there if I go there, but it's only one-on-one stuff is all they're allowing, which is still better than nothing. But yeah. I don't know what the UK tunnels have planned, but they might probably be under some sort of similar, recirculating air.
Yeah.
But the tunnels are not open yet. They're still also working on scenarios.
Yeah. Again, because we're still in a 2-meter rule, it's difficult to put people in an antechamber with in a locked container, isn't it? And that's the problem.
How many people fit in an antechamber? Yeah, same question, I guess. You can't put many. Yeah, it's the same size as a Twin Otter. I mean, as a caravan. So.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, you can go to restaurants now. You can go to whatever, the beach, the parks. No, not in England.
The restaurants haven't opened yet. So yeah, restaurants and bars probably, hopefully, 4th of July. Hopefully. So we don't have our restaurants and bars open yet because the numbers have been pretty high in the UK. They're dropping now. I mean, it's a really good day on the numbers today. But we're still not sort of where the restaurant and bars are open yet. So there's shops open tomorrow, but not all bars.
That's interesting, because the United States were one of the last countries to get affected by the whole thing, but now everything is almost like nothing has ever happened. kind of. You see some people with a mask, but other than that, restaurants open, everything open. People are, you know, back in normal operation almost. So Laura and Anna, both of you, I think you were talking about the outdoor championships, which were cancelled recently, right? I heard or read something about an unofficial nationals. What is that about?
So basically, Skydive Hibblestow, which has been the host of the national squad for the last 10-15 years, if it's basically they're kept that weekend anyway, so they'll have a 2-day, 8-way, 4-way, free fly nationals for if they definitely 4-way and 8-way, that's for sure. If the guidelines allow it, so if we're back to training, and then if they're allowed again big enough groups, it's a bit like the Sweden scenario Joe was talking about. At the moment Sweden DZ is 50 people, and it depends. I guess it's going to have to go on the same government guidelines of actually at the moment you can't have a gathering more than 6, but at some point you'll be able to have a party of 50, and at some point you'll be able to have a party of 100. So that will be a limiting factor on that. But yeah, they've kept the weekend, which is great. So as Laura and I are living in hope, I think. I think in NFTO for sure we're kind of we've kept that in the diary and see whether the event goes ahead depending on how the government guidelines go.
So the issue is actually not whether you can do 4-way or 9-way. The issue is, can you have a group big enough to run a national competition? That's more. It's not, you know, whether you can have enough people in the plane together. It's about having 100 people at the same time at a drop zone.
Both things, both issues, yeah. So it's all part of the bigger picture, isn't it, really? But that's a couple of 2.5 months away. We'll see how things progress.
If they just maybe limit the number of teams that can register.
I guess they'll have to, won't they?
Yeah, because I mean British Nationals is pretty big.
Yeah.
So the you said earlier it's all being pushed forward, you know. So the whole qualification, the teams Chimera, NFTO, microclimate, they're all qualified now for the Mondial 2020 in August 2021. It's interesting too, right? The name, that they keep the name there. So, but how is that? It is still a little bit different with indoor, because the World Challenge was supposed to be the national championship, the qualification event. And is it the same situation for the Indoor World Cup this year, which is still scheduled, and then for the Indoor World Meet next year, because April 2021 is the Indoor World Meet, right? So the teams that qualified last year at the World Challenge, are they qualified for this year's World Cup in Charleroi, and then for next year in Slovakia? Do you know?
So I know from the point of the World Cup, we were asked by BISA, so it's 2 separate federations. We've got the Indoor Skydiving Association that's all asked, did we want to enter again? And we said, yes, we'll go in October, please, if it's going ahead. And I think I think it's by the feeling, they haven't made an official announcement, but I get the feeling that they're still using the 2019 nationals in the nationals as a qualifier for the World Cup. And then if there's teams that don't want to go, then they'll just go further down the list, because we haven't had a competition. But I do know that Twinwoods do, which is great to hear, the Twinwoods do want to run their indoor nationals in the autumn, but they haven't set a date yet, and we haven't had any official announcement from BISA, the Indoor Federation, about going off next year. So I think the general idea is hopefully there will be an indoor nationals at the end of this year, and then that I presume, this is just my assumption though, that will then become the qualifier for April next year. I don't know whether Laura or Joey know anything else about that.
I haven't talked to the guys because they're always dealing with so much right now. I mean, it's still curious to see if the World Cup goes, because they might just push that and just move everything, just skip a year to keep so we don't have the double, the indoor and outdoor World Championships in the same year, to keep the balance of the World Championships and World Cups. So because if you're trying to train for a world meet in the same year, and both indoor and outdoor could be tough. So I could see that.
Yeah, I think that seems to be set. I mean, after, when I talked to Stretch, from Australia, the chair of the committee, he said indoor world meet and outdoor world meet next year are scheduled. So that will not change. The question is probably only, first of all, if the Indoor World Cup this year will take place or not, because we know
Okay, they would
we
just
don't know yet.
cancel it then.
We don't know yet if Belgium will be back, to indoor operation and big events. And so then that may have been what then is going to happen. Who knows if World Cup needs to be postponed, but next year's indoor World Meet and outdoor World Meet seem to be in stone.
Set in stone. Okay.
Hmm.
So then we would just lose the World Cup this year.
Well, I guess that's probably what happened, but that, we will not know earlier, I guess, because, we're all waiting for gradual development. But BPA is not involved in the indoor qualification or sanctioning anything. Okay, so there's a separate association in England too, like in the USA.
Yeah.
USBA outdoor, and I think it's called USIS for indoor. How is it in England?
BISA.
EISA.
BISA. British Indoor Skydiving Association. BISA.
Okay, how long have they been in existence?
Since they started, so it was started maybe 2 years ago. They took over. They had a conversation with the BPA about sort of relieving the BPA, as it was called now, British Skydiving, of the sort of the admin for it, because they had a group of very enthusiastic tunnel teams. A lot of the it was ACM that were very involved with it and pushing it forward, which is great. It's just been, they've got a sort of a dedicated team, a lot of ACM, and then I think Amatakola from Twinwoods as well. That's sort of dedicated people who've just been enthusiastic and passionate about it. They've said, actually, how's about we try and enable a bit more and work with it. So it meant that their BPA could, or British Skydiving now, could concentrate on the outdoor stuff, and then means BISA can sort of concentrate on the indoor stuff. So the first meet that they organised, I think, was the World Champs last year. So that was the first one that they sent, because they said that was their first one that they organised. So they started at the start of last year. This is their second year.
But they have to somehow work together, right? Because I mean, the scheduling, the coordination of all these events is becoming more crucial than ever. Every year, you have to coordinate it somehow. If you have two different organizations, I mean, you can only hope that they are productive and efficient and coordinating things well with each other, because we have to deal with that. You have to deal with that. Me too. But we all have to deal with that. And if they are not coming up with a well-planned schedule for it, if they just do things separately, that could become pretty challenging, right? Laura, you're laughing. You're smiling.
I think.
Yeah, no, I guess. Sorry, go on.
I think the BISA seems to, well, they're skydivers as well, so they get what's important. So there's not been any clashes so far. So no concerns.
Yeah, is it the same in Sweden? You know Sweden pretty well too, Joey. Is it the same federation doing everything there, or?
It's the same federation, but it's a lot more manageable here. You're talking 9 teams versus 65 or whatever. I mean, there's quite a bit of difference in workload and in between Sweden and England as far as that goes. But they've canceled their championships. I'm supposed to do something with the girls, maybe just some maintenance training just for fun to get down there, because the tunnel is open on weekends here. But they're not sure, but it's a lot easier to manage. I mean, obviously in England with all this stuff, but I think they all talk. They know when the championships are. I mean, both organizations are, I was going to say run by skydivers, but that might be generous. But anyway, the BISA is run by skydivers, and they understand when we're competing and what we're doing, and the way things should kind of go. Hopefully they can move the indoor nationals a bit earlier in the season, because it's a bit close to the World Championships and World Cups. But that's a Bedford, Twinwoods versus, because they like their April timeframe, but it kind of butts up against the World Cups and stuff a little bit. But other than that, they seem to have organized things pretty well.
Well, they are skydiving organizations now, at least according to their names. They all have indoor skydiving now, and I don't understand really this terminology, because skydiving, it's not really skydiving, but
The
anyhow.
indoor skydiving, yeah, that always bugs me, but you have to pick your battles.
Yeah, whatever. Anyhow, so in Germany, it's the same. It's interesting, to see how each country is doing that. Germany is the federation handling both. The FAI, ISC is doing both. And then there are countries who are separating it. USBA said from the beginning, we are a parachuting organization, so we don't do indoor. And England, similar thing. So that'll be interesting how that will develop in the longer term.
I wouldn't be surprised as the indoor skydiving becomes more popular that some of these federations choose to take it back under their umbrella. I think they just didn't want to get involved in the beginning because of all of the difficulties with starting something new. They're like, you guys get it set up, and then I would venture to guess that it'll come back under the fold because you are talking about the same athletes, the same people for the most part.
Yes.
So that's something I could see happening, but let somebody else sort it out in the beginning.
Yeah, interesting. Well, let's talk a little bit about the team stuff, because that's what our business is usually. And I'm sad and sorry that you're still all on a hold there, but that's just the way it is. And I guess you're all doing the same things that Hayabusa has shown and Fireflash with remote and virtual dirt dives and visualizations and watching videos and being in touch and talking about stuff. We could talk about this for hours, but let me just throw in one topic, because that was very interesting in the conversation with Jeremy and Gary last. It caught my attention that they were, the break is painful, for all of us, because we love what we're doing, but they were not really too concerned. They said, and I mentioned this earlier, that the break could be also related to indoor, outdoor, what we just talked about, could be productive even. Could be rejuvenating, energizing, saving energies for the time when it's gets open again. So let's start with you again this time, Joey, top left, and then we go same order. What do you think about the break? Is it a good thing, a bad thing? Does it matter? What does it do to people?
Well, I mean, now that everything's been kind of canceled, you can kind of go, okay, because there was that stress of like, oh my God, we're going to get the go ahead and have to be ready for nationals, and everybody had so many other stresses in their lives that because the team was just another stress that was kind of a non-essential stress for everybody. But now that we know that it's canceled, it's easy. I focused on getting the best of done, watching a bunch of video and send it out. But we've been pretty relaxed with everything and let everybody deal with all of their, jobs and partners and organizing their lives. And so we've been pretty relaxed on that stuff, just staying in touch. And now we've just said, well, let's just take some time and talk in July sometime and see where we're at and what we're going to do. And for sure, you're going to come back. I mean, I would think come back hungrier for some teams, especially, and some teams probably could have kept training. I think it's going to be that's a team by team. What you're going to benefit most, I mean, for us, our goal is to win the nationals next year, right? And go to the world meet the following year. And that opportunity is now no longer available. So that to at least get the open class slot, that was our goal, for next year. And that's gone now. So that requires a much bigger conversation amongst our team anyway. Whereas these guys have a little bit different plan. I'm sure they can hop on and do winter training in Spain or wherever when things fire up. It's a little bit different for us now, looking at what would be a 3-year commitment again. So we have a bigger conversation to have than these two ladies up here with their teams, because they've got plans, and now they've got even longer to prepare. So for those two teams, it's not a bad thing. Take a break, reevaluate how you can use this extra time, and hopefully extra funds for those people that have continued to work and all that. So I'll not speak for them, but that's how my take on it.
Let's see what they say, Laura. Joey thinks it's not a bad thing for you, for Chimera.
Yeah, I think you kind of have to learn to roll with the punches a little bit in 4-way, and we know that certainly more than some teams. If it's not someone hooking it in and breaking their femur, it's somebody's lung exploding, or whatever's happening. You know, you've kind of got to adapt. And I think the bottom line is that, you know, we fall out of a plane and touch each other. We're not saving lives, we're not changing the world. There's millions of lives at risk. So the absolute priority for us at the moment is that everybody stays safe and stays healthy, and we do what we have to do to kind of get through this as a community. And, you know, globally, it's a really tough situation, but we're kind of looking at it as it's bigger than us, and we have to do what we have to do, right? To answer your question, though, in terms of what the break is actually doing for us, yeah, I think Joey's absolutely hit the nail on the head. It gives us an opportunity to kind of reevaluate where we're at. We are in a privileged position in that we retain our qualification for next year, so we're not in that same difficult conversation point as Eros. And what we're actually going to be doing is just moving everything to kind of extend our training plan and focus on next year instead. So yeah, it sucks, but it is what it is, right?
And NFTO, Anna, do you think you're benefiting from a little break, or is it holding you back?
I think we're very similar as with Laura and Chimera, really. It's kind of, we've got time to reset and off we go again. Actually, Jules reflected when we spoke to you last, Kurt. Jules reflected that well, gives her a bit more. Jules only joined us at the start of this year, so a bit more time for her to sort of get used to us, and we'll probably actually have a bit more time to do stuff together. We're doing our regular sort of once a fortnight doing a call with Joey. No, that's Joey's in there. I'm looking at Joey with Roy, with Roy, and doing sort of keeping contact, but also doing a little bit of coaching stuff as well, and doing our best with our fitness and our visualizing, really. And so we're just trying to make sure that we're in the best mental and physical place for when we start up again, really. And yeah, so treating it as trying to reframe it as an opportunity, which it can be. And we were saying obviously before we started recording, it's a lot tougher for those who are working purely in the industry, because that's a lot tougher with those stresses. But we've just had to reframe it and go, okay, right, we'll treat it as an opportunity, start off a bit steadier, and then work towards the new goals, really. And reframed it.
Well, let's just assume there were a team somewhere on the planet that just trained through the whole break, that didn't have much of an interruption, and then compared to a team that now was on a 3, 4, 5 month break. Who has the advantage? Joey?
Team that's been training. If I had a choice, I'd keep training for sure. I mean, if you had that opportunity, but as the lady said, it's bigger than that. We need to, like I said, we just hide out here, go into town once every 2 weeks to get what supplies we need, and come back to the mountains and just hide out. That's what we need to be doing right now. So, but if the team, if that's a kind of a weird hypothetical question, is that team putting the rest of their community at risk? And then or do they live in a bubble where there's no COVID? If there was no COVID, you'd want to keep training. But if there is, you could make a bigger risk and not be able to compete next year because you haven't controlled this problem. So, it's a tough question to answer, but who doesn't want to keep training? Who doesn't want to have another team shut down for a couple months while you get to jump? But that's, it's a tough question to answer.
Laura, any input?
I agree with Joey.
So it is like Anna says, basically we are just doing what Anna defined, more or less making the best out of it. So we all agree that this is actually what's going on. It is not the best situation, but we accept it and we are trying to make the best out of it.
And I think that's the thing, there are things that you can be doing during the break. As Anna's already kind of mentioned, keeping fit is something that we've been really focused on as well. I've been doing a sports psychology course. We're all doing kind of yoga and, all that kind of keeping ourselves physically ready, and mentally you can be visualizing. We're having calls with Nicholas. We're doing an escape room with Twinwoods next week. We're doing a little social get together, keeping those lines of communication open. And it's also a good opportunity, if you are a fledgling team and you are less experienced, there's not going to be a more challenging time than this. So take the opportunity to really reset, make make time to have those discussions about what your goals are, what's really important to you. Maybe even take advantage of the fact that teams like us are not doing anything at the moment. So if anyone does want to drop us a message and get some advice, we're more than happy. And there are things that we can be doing, even if we can't be skydiving right now.
It's not that I'm asking this more defined, if you can say so, because it's not, other sports have their breaks every year, and we don't any longer with indoor outdoor. It's kind of one whole year now without any interruption. We used to have a winter break, if you can say so, when it was only outdoor, but other sports have that every year. The soccer, whether it's soccer, football, baseball, whatever it is, basketball, there's a season and there's a pretty long break, and where they get ready for next year and so forth. So we are thrown into this right now, and I'm just wondering, if some people really thinks, I think Gary brought that up, that it's if you compare it to other sports, it's not a bad thing actually if you use it productively.
No, I mean, I was looking forward to getting back on the drop zone, because we've got our fitness tests and we are weigh-ins and everything, and watching everybody's run times just drop dramatically, because we're just training all the time. I mean, I think Travis said he ran 100 kilometers or something in the last month, and I did like 300 kilometers in May, just walking and hiking around here. And I'm like, it's going to be so easy to go jump because we're all so fit, and instead of standing around and watching people skydive all day long, I'm actually out running around. But it doesn't look like we're going to get that opportunity. Maybe in the winter, I'd like to go and, depending on what we do, is try to do a winter camp again instead of just focus on the tunnel and focus a little bit more on jumping. But our team has to have a conversation. But do you guys, the ladies, your team's planning on adding some jumps over the winter, or are you going to stick with the normal tunnel? Are you going to stick with a traditional training season, or are you going to change it at all? Have you got that far, or do you want to share it?
Let's do it quick. I will be thrown out in about a minute and a half. So I want to
go.
Let's do it quickly. If there are plans. Yeah, I mean, Florida winter camp and Shamrock Showdown, I guess. Right?
Sounds perfect. Sounds like a great party. Yeah, a bit of. I think Boyd's keen for us to do a bit of both. I think so. Obviously, tunnel works out cheaper, so we'll have to crunch some numbers when we because we'd love to jump all the way through, but it's tunnel that is cheaper, so we'll have to crunch the numbers.
All right. So before we are thrown out and we don't have the chance to say goodbye, I want to do that quickly. I want to say thank you very much for taking time. Very interesting, very good thoughts and good input. Thank you very much for that. And good luck with the whole coming back. So at least I've done my share now. I've said goodbye. Goodbye.
Thanks, Kurt. Thanks, ladies. It was a
nice
pleasure.
to see you guys.
Yes.
Take care. Stay safe.